just do it the way that you can. And then perseverance is because you need to do it because you have to do it, right? So,
Right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of our IT Career Talk. And today we have David Frilles. Am I pronouncing that correctly, David?
yeah, you're correct. You're correct. Thanks for that, Rafi. Yeah. So, hi guys. Good morning, good evening to wherever you are, and I hope you're doing fine. Hope you're safe. Hope you enjoy today's episode. Yeah.
Right. So, David, for our audience, could you give a short background of what you do or, who you are as a professional?
All right. So right now, I'm committed with Kenview. Although it's something new to the ears of the guys who's listening right now, but Kenview is actually Johnson and Johnson's consumer health. So I believe you guys are familiar with Johnson and Johnson, right? So they have actually three core businesses. They have the pharmaceuticals, the one with the vaccines and stuff. They have the medical technology, the blood pressure equipment, other med tech stuff. And then there's this one what's called consumer health. So consumer health is where they are producing the face powders, mouthwash, lotions, and stuff. So the company decided to like separate the consumer health
Mm-hmm.
core business and rebrand it to a different name, and then they're going to like uh put another listing on the NYSE, New York Stock Market. So basically, the role that I had right now is actually their initiative to expand the business.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm actually fortunate that they were able to find me somewhere here in the Philippines. So what I'm doing is I'm a network operations manager in Asia Pacific. Basically, what I do is we manage the whole network infrastructure of Kenview. Right now, they're in the process of migrating all of their network infrastructure from J&J Consumer Health to Kenview. So there's really a lot of things happening right now over the background. But basically, everything related to Kenview's network infrastructure and operations, that's what we're taking care of. So I'm handling a really big team. To be maybe to summarize it, it's actually 14 countries I'm
Wow.
handling. It's really big, but I'm really confident with the team because they were really established for years now. A couple of guys were from the original Johnson and Johnson company,
Mhm.
and then they were able to like do lateral movements over to the Kenview leg.
Right.
Besides that, for over like 7 years I might say, I'm really engaged into network engineering.
Mm-hmm.
uh that is like the career I chose, I might say, but I believe a bit later I might tell a bit more on how I was able to arrive on that field. But overall, yeah, this is what I do. So yeah.
Right, right. And again, to clarify to our audience, basically this is internet network traffic, right? Now, we're not talking about, like a, networking or multi-level, what do you call this? Human networking, right? We're talking
No,
about
no, no.
technology
No,
networking,
yeah,
right? Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
to be
yeah,
clear,
you're
no,
correct.
let's put that out there. We're talking about internet traffic,
Mhm,
potentially maybe even cabling,
mhm,
special
correct.
equipments. Yeah. So I wanna just ask also, right? You are, as you mentioned, heading 14 countries, and
Mm.
a lot of networking sometimes is quite physical, right? Are
Mhm.
you handling also physical components of networking, or are they all outsourced to a third party like a cloud provider for your network, or do you still have your own internal networking infrastructure?
That's a good question, really. Well, for the network infrastructure per se, you mean
Mm-hmm.
for the equipment, everything's in-house.
Mm,
But, the way that companies do it, especially for those non-IT centric companies
yes.
that are really not really having IT as the core business,
Mm-hmm.
they do outsourcing really. So what happens is the company structure is in-house network equipment, but they are being managed by third-party
Mm-hmm.
providers. So let's say this networking part is this provider A, and then voice is handled by provider B, security is handled by provider C.
Right.
So that's basically their setup. Although in my role, we're pretty much handling almost everything
Mm-hmm.
over the network stuff. So that's really a mix of, physical networking, configurations, routing and switching, network security, and, dispatch as well. So,
Right.
yeah.
And does this mean that you will eventually have to visit these 14 countries? Because again, you are the head of this, right? That there's a chance for you to visit the entire network.
Well, I'm not quite sure. We have discussions that might happen in the future. So most of the time when we do transactions or collaborations with these teams, we always do it remotely. But personally, when we're talking about managing people, we really want to be in touch with them. So hopefully in the nearest future, I'm able to like check them out over where they are, just
Yes.
know how they're doing, and then
Build
like
rapport, camaraderie,
build
right?
rapport, connect with them. Yeah, you're correct.
Networking is a difficult topic for a lot of developers, including myself. We
Mhm,
are, myself, we go into IT, we're
mhm.
doing programming, and network is sometimes one of the last or late, towards the end of thought, in many cases for us. How did you get into networking? Right? Is this something you saw as a a booming career during your time, or did you attend a talk like this, and
Mhm.
then you said, "Ah, I want to be like Sir David," right? How did you discover this career path?
That's actually a good question because I have this hilarious story.
Yeah.
I'm really sorry if this will gonna take a bit long, but I think this is interesting because, you know, I really am not an IT guy. I graduated as an ECE, Electronics and Communications Engineering, and so we're really into more of electronics,
Yes.
telco, transmissions, and whatnot. Maybe network engineering is just like two, three subjects, you might say.
Mhm.
But just for the sake of discussion, I'm just gonna let everyone know I actually did not graduate on time. I was delayed one semester, basically. Now, the magic happened is when I left the subject that I left out on that semester is actually network communications.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So, and what happened is I had this professor. Uh, his name is Rex Carl de Vera. He's really into networking too, but eventually he transitioned to pre-sales
Mm.
and then eventually management, right? So he opened our eyes on this reality that he actually told us that in the next 5 to 15 or to 20 years, networking is one of the industries that are gonna flourish, right? And especially on the BPO industry.
Mm.
Here in the Philippines, it's really prominent for BPOs to come in. Before there are only like I believe like three, four players at most.
Right, right.
Now there are really a lot of BPO or contact center industries here in the Philippines, and they're really not situated in NCR right now. A couple of them are in Pampanga, in Iloilo, and a lot of them are also in Cebu. So he was able to explain to us that this is going to be the trend for the next years or so. So he told us, that, hey, you need to position yourselves in this area. As a matter of fact, it's not really networking during that time that he recommended. He also recommended cloud as well. But, he just really gave us a choice anyway. But, that's really how it started, you know, and kudos to that professor that I had because he really did not teach the subject in a way that it's everything by the book. He
Mm-hmm.
really taught it in a way that it's how it gonna be used in the industry. So we have this lab setup, we have this software. He explained the concepts, and then he made us like play along with the tool that's Cisco Packet Tracer basically. So upon that, the way he taught the subject was able to make us appreciate how it is going to be relevant in the next years to come. So when I positioned on that role, then here I am, and I saw that it's something that's not going to be going away for a while now. So yeah.
Right, right, right. Speaking of network, I'm gonna touch on a little bit touchy subject, right? How have you
Mhm,
seen the improvement of networking for our telcos, especially for residential consumers of the internet? No? We have always hear this complaint that
mhm,
our internet is one of the slowest in
mhm,
Southeast Asia. Now we have Starlink also coming in,
mhm,
right? How do
mhm.
you see the trend of networking, especially internet networking for consumers in the next few, months or even the next few years?
Next few years, yeah, that's a really good question because uh, Philippines is actually not a strategic location for internet. You know why? Because if you're going to understand how internet works, everything is being put physically under the sea, right? So submarine cables, and they're like traversing over these termination points. If actually you're gonna search it on Google, just type in submarine
Yeah,
cable stuff, you're going to see a map. And there are these companies that are able to manage these connections over these regions and countries. The problem with Philippines is we're really
I think we only
diverse.
had five, right? Or five or six
Yeah,
internet
we only
cables.
have five terminations. Yeah, I think one is in Pampanga, then one is in Mindanao, maybe a couple in Palawan and Visayas as well. So what happens is the way they're traversing themselves over to like the islands
Mm-hmm.
is really getting them hard because you can't deploy any fiber optic or wired medium over those islands. So that's why on the like more rural areas of the country, it's more convenient to have them over wireless, right? So like
Right.
the wireless router thingies that you see, it's more convenient with them rather than them having wired connections. So I soon, if our tech guys are gonna be able to figure this out, I really think that it's much better for Philippines to have like one more termination points for the submarine cable. So as you said, maybe we have five. Maybe we can increase that. That's gonna be an investment thing, but that's something that the government needs to figure out. Number two is for them to invest in wireless infrastructure, especially in the rural areas as well. So that's how I see it gonna be going in for the next few years.
Right, right. And I guess the emergence of, this cell sites, 5G networks, right? I think
Mhm,
definitely will improve over time, the satellite,
mhm,
and yeah, I guess it's a matter of cost, cost
mhm,
efficiency over time as well.
mhm, mhm,
Right. So uh, recently, as you mentioned, you've managed people already, right?
mhm.
How has that transition been for you from a individual contributor to a manager?
Uh, at a certain point, it's actually hard because you know how tech guys work, right? We work through a something of a system or process that when we're troubleshooting things, we want to have the things work the way we want it to. And then there's always something that would make us think that there's always a better way. As individual contributors, that's how we operate, right? We always think of something that we believe that's going to work on our perspective.
Right.
Now, when you're managing IT guys, so it's going to be like a collection of minds that has their own ways how and how to do things. Like, yeah, so like person A is gonna do this in this way, person B is gonna do it in this way. Now, when it comes to managing the team, and you have those guys with different perspectives, it's really hard because if you're on a team, you need to make sure that you are on a single goal, on a single route on how to resolve an issue. So on the first times that I was able to handle the team, it's really hard. There is this kind of thing that sometimes I'm suggesting that it should work this way because it's how individual contributors work. But eventually you would notice that, and this is one important things when you're managing people, is that you should give them trust that you're gonna able to do how to do things on their own. Uh, if you're going to give them the freedom and see how they work, it might be different, but you would understand that it makes sense. Now, if you have a couple of people that you're managing, maybe it could be five, up to 10, up to 50 to hundreds. The best way is to collaborate anyway. So you would just sit in a room or go into a meeting, just address the problem. Hey, this is our situation. What do you guys think? And then whenever the other guys would hear what the other guys are gonna say, all of the sudden they would also think that, hey, that makes sense. And then the other guys would also say, hey, what you said makes sense. And then it comes into this form of collaboration that you would eventually all agree. And then at the end of the day, you would be able to attack the issue with only one way, right? So
Right.
yeah.
Great, great. You mentioned several skills, several parts of your work, though. Can you paint me a picture of what a day in a life of a network operations supervisor is? Right? If you may, no? Like, are you mostly in meetings? Are you mostly in checking logs or checking security? What is a day? Maybe a Monday, right? Those are the
Monday, yeah.
Monday
Mhm,
for you.
So in my role as a network operations manager, it's really a mix. It's not really all management. You are still involved in tech. So that's actually what I love about being
Yeah.
an IT manager. So you're also involved in tech, right? So on a Monday, you would see uh what happened last week or what happened last weekend. You need to address what are the issues that arrived during those times,
And
and
what are
then
you
you would
usually looking for? Is it like, drop in latency, or is it like disconnections, lost packets? What are the typical things that you as you used to mention, what are you looking for from last week usually? Do you have a set of metrics that you are looking at?
yes, that's one. Or I'm looking at a set of metrics, and when we mean metrics, we're gonna sway away a bit on the network engineering part. When we're talking about metrics, we're really more into how the network operations as a whole responds to the issues. So
Mhm,
it's not really just the guys from the site report an issue and then the network engineers is just going to resolve it,
mhm.
but time is really a consideration
Yes.
when you're resolving things, and then how you're going to do everything in the process. And I'm talking about like collaboration and escalations, because even though that you know how to do things, if it takes time, it really involves business impact. It really involves impact on the financial side and the revenue generation of things. So what I'm looking is first the really critical issues. Yeah, it's correct. You said that it may be connection down issue, it may be a packet loss issue or slowness issue.
Mhm.
That is not just that, but those situations that impacted the business.
Right.
So there sometimes there are those issues that not really impact the business because it affected a site, maybe just an admin office. So
Mhm.
sometimes that happens. But I take a look on those things, that what really happened over those issues that impacted the business thoroughly. That's one. And then number two is the metrics. How much time did they take to do this? How much time did they take to escalate it to the next guy? And then next up is, did they do all of the documentation when they did the troubleshooting.
Right.
Mostly that's what happens on Mondays, really taking of what happened over the past week.
Right. So mostly your Mondays really is you auditing previous week.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure that over the end of the month things, that's something that we also need to audit, because we besides being a network operations manager that you're managing the team, you also need to look at the trends, right?
Mhm.
It's not just your general reports that you're gonna generate that this is the metrics, whatnot, but you need to like find trends over like the next 3 months, 6 months to see what kinds of issue are really prominent during those times of the day. And then from there you can make a conclusion that hey, it's always we're having slowness issues, maybe we need to increase our bandwidth. So at least your basis of what you wanted to recommend to the management to improve the business now has evidence over those days, weeks, or months of data that you have.
All right, got it, got it. Great. No. And I guess we're about to also close in a few more minutes. And
Mhm.
I just have a couple more questions left for you. So first one is, as you mentioned, you also have ECE background.
Mhm.
You graduated a little bit late. I
Mhm.
also hear a lot of ECE sometimes second guessing their course, right?
Mhm.
Is is ECE still worth it? What are your advices to current ECE students?
So that's actually a trick, is that's something that I also experienced, I think, maybe my third year in college. So, the feeling that you're already questioning that it's like on my midterm of the course. Is it really too late? Is it something that I need to look forward to? But, this is something that the students need to consider, is that don't try to learn in the four corners of the classroom. As much as possible, if you're gonna be able to talk to other people, especially in the industry, then do so. If you're gonna be able to network with other guys, then do so. The reason why is whenever you feel this feeling that you think it's not gonna work out in the future, you have these professionals and experts that would guide you that hey, over in the next few years we're projecting this is what's going to happen. The next few years, this is going to be the trend. Uh, and being a student on that position, on that point, we understand that you really don't have that much of perspective on what's happening on the outside world. So that's why you're able to arrive maybe on those conclusions. But those guys that you're able to network with, they're gonna give you more clarity because they see things on a different perspective and on the more realistic side of things. So as an example, again, I mentioned my professor. He really gave us an eye opener that it's gonna prolong the conversation here, but basically he explained the reason why that's gonna be a trend in the next years. That this is the business case. This is the talent pool of the Philippines. This is Philippines is the best English speaking country in Southeast Asia for years now. Things like that. So make sure that while you're still on college, speak with professionals, do networking with the experts, the experienced guys, especially those guys in the industry. So they will give you a lot of clarity over what
Right.
you're thinking.
Got it. All
Yeah.
right. And so, last question, yeah, and more of
Mhm.
like what you just earlier mentioned, like an advice. Perhaps maybe you could add more about what certain skills you're looking if you're obviously a hiring manager also since you have people, right?
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
more of advice of how people can be more employable, maybe on what do you look for usually when you hire.
All right. So a great question actually, because there is this one thing that I really look, and it's not technical, it's not grades, it's not certifications. That's gonna be something that you're gonna be able to assess in the interview anyway. But at the end of the day, maybe if you're gonna interview, you're gonna still end up with like a 10 guys with the same expertise. But what I'm really looking for is what we call grit, right? So it's really a combination of hard work and perseverance,
Mhm.
because hard work, it just means that you just need to push to do what you do. Just do it the way that you can. And then perseverance is because you need to do it because you have to do it, right? So it's a quality of something that you really don't want to give up on what you're doing, right? There are also like stages in my career that I felt that, I'm not marketable enough. I might be lacking with some of these stuff, but you're still gonna find a way. That's basically what grit means. Find a way. Uh, so if ever you feel that you're not enough, then find a way. Talk with people. Do Google search. Try to watch podcasts or videos like that would explain what are going to be the trends, what's going to be more relevant in the years to come. You're going to find a way to look for it anyway. And then when you're on the employment side of things, and then one day you would catch yourself in a situation that, hey, I think this is not working. Hey, I think I'm not learning everything. Then just continue to find a way to learn more, right? So, uh, a lot of guys are really do know what they're doing and they're great at what they're doing, but it's just at that point that they're just good at it. But when the tough times come,
Mm.
they don't find a way. They just relax. They just say it is what it is. But if your attitude is something like, no, we got to fix this. We need to find a way. We're going to do this. And that's something that is going to make you stand out of the others. So, yeah,
Right.
that's what I think.
Thank you again so much, David, for your time today. And I hope you enjoyed our conversation and our career talk our short career talk in this sense. Do you have any last shout outs? You want to greet anyone or invite others to any particular, you know?
Yeah. I actually wanted to like have a take that opportunity to like let the guys know that I actually am also doing speakerships on the side. I have this one upcoming in April 1 that's gonna be in USD. I'm gonna be speaking with the computer science and IT guys over IoT and network security. So if ever you guys are interested, you can give me a ping. Just reach out to Rafi here to like know about my contacts, and I'm gonna definitely be able to help you out, not just on IT career stuff, but also on career development as well. What to focus on, especially on your early years of your career. So yeah, that's it for
All
me.
right. Thanks, David. No? And again, your LinkedIn, if it's fine, I'll just place it in the description
Yeah,
box
yeah,
as well.
that that's
All
gonna
right.
be great.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, and goodbye.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.